Da 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 da. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steven. This is 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing, and playing podcast.
I didn't try to mess you up as bad this time, like I did last time. Tell me about John Mayer, Steve.
John Mayer on guitar.com, our friends over at guitar.com.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Cillian?
No.
How do you say that name?
I don't know.
Cillian Breathneck wrote this article.
I don't know that person. If I do know you, I'm sorry that I forgot that I know you.
John Mayer on digital modeling, quote, "If somebody had walked a fractal into the Thriller sessions, you would have heard it all over that record."
Yeah, sure.
Because his new album, Sob Rock, which I've heard a couple tracks off of, but not that many tracks, just a couple, is very, like so much music today, 80s inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like he is now kind of a fan of the fractal units.
And this is a guy who's like, I'm remembering the photo of him on a private jet holding a dumbbell in his lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a guy who, he has access to whatever he wants, but here he is embracing a modeling amp. That's fun. There's something fun about that.
Yeah. He said he did. It says he did still use the dumbbell.
Is my hair bonkers right now?
Who cares?
Okay, so John Mayer used a fractal.
He used a fractal. He still used a dumbbell because dumbbell was like a big 80s clean sound. Like a lot of people were using dumbbell.
Well, he was using the fractal into the dumbbell.
Possibly.
That's how you really warm up
Possibly.
that fractal sound. Is you hit it into a dumbbell. I think you could say that about all kinds of different recordings. I mean, you could probably roll into, like a recording studio in the 50s into Sun Studios and be like, hey, check this out.
Right.
And once they figure out how to power it up and hook something up to monitor it, then they'd be like, oh, yeah, there's some interesting sounds in here. I mean, it's a tool.
Yeah. I mean, it is a tool. And you could say that, fractal in any era. But I think it's the idea that like the 80s guitar sound was so effect saturated.
If you took it back to the 80s, meaning the 1780s, they would have called you a witch and burned you at the stake.
Well, if you took it back to the 80s, as in the 1780s, they wouldn't have done anything because you'd just be holding this weird box, and no one would be able. And you'd have
to invent electricity, to be able to use it.
Yeah.
When was electricity invented? Early.
I mean, I guess it was like electricity was invented
like late 1800s, maybe.
In like
it wasn't invented, but they figured out practical uses for it.
You could probably figure out a way to like take a steam engine and like have it turn a thing inside of a thing. That's how electricity is made.
I mean, your first problem is getting electricity. Your second problem is building an electric guitar.
Oh yeah. You just show up with this amp and no electric guitar.
And then your third problem is you don't have any speakers. Like, there's a lot of problems involved if you take it back to the 1780s. Like, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. You brought the wrong thing with you back through time. You needed to bring so much other stuff with you.
Yeah. And of course, he says he uses other things. But I think it's interesting that you're starting to have more and more things of this nature kind of popping up.
Sure.
You have bands that, especially for live. Now, I think this instance is unique with John Mayer saying he used a fractal on his album because this is a guy who he also used a dumbbell and he used an old Fender amp, and apparently some of his guitar parts he plugged straight in to the console or did some kind of direct solution, and it sounds like that was just kind of driven by, I don't know if it was what was on hand or what, something he wanted to try, something he heard. But the other side of that is like, he had a dumbbell on hand. Like, this is a guy who could pick any amp he wanted.
Right.
and said, you know what, this like fractal digital amp is the perfect tool for me in this moment.
Well, I think if
And
I mean any album that he makes, I don't listen to his music very often, pretty much never at all. Any album that he makes has got to have more than just guitar on it, right?
Sure,
It's probably
sure.
got all kinds of technology and stuff incorporated, and we're also hung up on the guitar side of it. Like, what about all the other instruments? You know, there's someone out there wringing their hands like, oh man, he didn't use the right drum mic or whatever.
Right,
Who
but I
cares?
think
Like,
there's-
as long as you output like creatively the song that you're trying to output, like who cares?
I think there's a bit there, sure, but I think there's a lot of music,
That's true. There is a lot of music.
a lot of music intellectuals or whatever, like people
Sure.
who think really hard about John Mayer, who are like, oh, that album, the two rock tones on that album are just, that's why I got a two rock or whatever, you know,
Right.
and that they're driven by these particular amp sounds. And
You know
again,
that this article is going to sell fractals. Like,
yeah, no, exactly, and to that, like, and what I was saying is there have been bands, I think, for like starting in like the early 2010s. I want to say like I think it was Weezer was touring with like was it the 500 HDs, like whatever the big pod floorboards were, that the one that was after the XT, which I think was the 500 series. I think Fall Out Boy was touring with like all Kempers.
Well, a lot of
bands are doing that live, but I think it's different to have somebody again who has access to like any. Philip Carter from the 40 Watt podcast calls them endgame amps.
Right.
Like they're the amp you get after you beat the boss at the end of the game. They're your reward.
It's the big loot crate.
Yeah. And so like Two Rock, Matchless, obviously Dumble's not even like the end game amp. Dumble is like when you are the first person ever to beat the game and the developer has a special prize for you.
Right.
You know, stuff like that.
Now you get to play the game on God mode.
Yeah. So the idea that like that schlubs are using, or you know, whatever fractals for live use isn't a big thing, because the reality is for the average player, even like even the above average player, like playing live is like you're willing to compromise a little bit for some kind of benefit, like the lightweight or whatever.
For touring, like digital stuff, modeling stuff makes so much sense. It's the same settings every time. You have your presets. Even if it goes down, you have your presets saved on your laptop or something like that. You can run to Guitar Center, you can buy a fresh one and throw your presets on there, and they're saved forever. It's fantastic. Like, it makes a ton of sense. Like, you don't have to worry about your roadie accidentally bumping the gain knob or something like that. You never get your setting back quite right. You know, it's like a confidence thing. You know that it's the same setting that you used at the last show, that you used at the last show, that you used at the last show. Even if it doesn't sound right through your monitors, you know, you have the confidence to know it's going to sound the same, even if it doesn't sound the same to me right now through my monitors. Like, that makes total sense. But yeah, to have someone of John Mayer's, I hate, for lack of a better term, caliber,
Yeah, sure.
using this technology in studio, I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's a huge thing for the marketing of these things, you know, and anyone could be using that type of technology to record tracks, and people do all the time, every day. They're using digital modelers to record their home albums, or even record in studio and stuff like that. But to have it fetch, you know, kind of big star notoriety is a big deal. It is.
It's kind of, it feels refreshing. I don't want to say this. I'm going to say it anyway. I'm just going to say it.
Say it. Refresh me.
It's refreshing to hear someone, again, like that you consider like from a, actually I would say from a fame level, John Mayer is certainly like at least a plus, if not an S tier musician. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like S tier.
I don't know what S tier means.
S tier is like God tier.
Oh, okay.
Like God level or like demigod level.
I mean,
If you're ranking musicians, I feel like John Mayer, and someone says, where do you rank John Mayer? Like, I feel like he's definitely near.
I think he's definitely at the top of the modern game of guitar players.
I'm talking about
right
like
now.
modern, and then
Current,
I think
like in the current decade that we live in,
I think,
like John Mayer is tops.
I think
he's in the top like probably dozen guitar players that people know about.
And I'm not saying that even.
I don't even mean in skill. I just mean in that like
exactly.
in popular appeal. Exactly. Everyone knows his name.
So that's where I'm going with this. Is I feel like this take is refreshing when whether or not they are intentionally crafted to be trolly or not. You always have like Joe Bonamassa always seems like he's got a hot take that's like, you just need a tube amp. And
if you use pedals, you're lazy.
If you use more than half of a pedal, you probably just you should have spent that $50 on lessons.
That's a good point. Like, there's plenty of people out there that don't like John Mayer for various reasons, which I'm sure are all valid. Yeah. But I can't think of a single time he's said some dumbass thing about gear.
Yeah,
he seems like someone who he likes gear.
He usually says dumbass things like that his penis is racist.
Oh yeah, he says those sorts of dumbass things, but he usually keeps that towards, women and individuals and entire races of people and things like that. Stuff that who cares, right? Yeah. But gear, oh, he's never stepped on toes talking about gear. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, he's every music celebrity is an awful person, and none of them are defendable in any way. But yeah, I don't think I've ever read a quote or heard something from him where like, oh man, your take on gear is stupid, John Mayer.
I'm just saying, in this moment of like the last gear related 6 months, year, whatever, the idea of like a god tier, top tier musician coming out and being like, yeah, I used this and it got all the sounds that I wanted. And because I was trying to get sounds from this other decade, I think if this piece of equipment would have existed in that decade, they would have been all over all of your favorite records from that decade.
I mean, you think about 80s tones, rack gear into a jazz chorus. Like, you can do that with a modeler, no problem. You're going to be just fine. Now I'm remembering that John Mayer quote about his dick being racist or something like that. How do you even get to the place in your life where you have that thought and then decide it's okay to say it out loud? Like,
well, I think, I mean, for what it's worth, that was I think that was a Playboy interview. And like, I think at the time when when like men were doing interviews for Playboys, they would always just try to say something
risque or something,
like kind of off the wall, like what's going to be my big quote, and it was always something stupid. And
I was at that whole like Maxim era, right? Like Maxim magazine, like when there was like dozens and dozens of like knockoff, not quite Playboy versions of like store shelf friendly magazines for men that were just atrocious and awful. Like, we got stacks of those when I worked in the t-shirt industry, and they left them out on tables for people to like try to reference ideas for stupid shirt ideas and stuff.
Now here's
always god awful.
Here's a question that I have. Do you think when John Mayer says that this Fractal would have been used all over, he says all over the Thriller album, not just the song Thriller, but all over the Thriller album, do you think he's trying to imply that Van Halen would have been using fractals in the 80s?
Yeah, sure.
Because Eddie Van Halen is the guitar player on Beat It.
Yeah, no,
Beat It definitely has that like classic Van Halen, like whooshy phasery thing going on. And when I think about something that I would think a digital modeler would be really good at, it's whooshy phasers.
Oh, sure. No, you know what? If you could go back into the 80s with a lot of the tech that we have now, especially all of the devices built around capturing the Brown sound, I think Eddie would have been like, whoa, this is amazing. I've got so much stuff I can use now. I don't think he would be insanely picky about that stuff. If you dropped a fractal on him, was like, hey man, what do you think about this? He'd probably be blown away by it.
He'd probably be pissed because you just dropped an amp on a dude. And
Oh my gosh, that's not what I mean.
Come on, man, violence.
Like so much of his rig was so impractical. Like, okay, I've got all these Marshall stacks and, you know, like this device to control the voltage going into them.
He would have figured out a way to starve a fractal to get...
No, I think that's the angle. Like, because he was an experimenter, he liked to Frankenstein gear and stuff like that. If you dropped a fractal onto his lap, not onto his head, Steve, you handed him a fractal politely, he would explore the patches, and then he'd have some questions because he doesn't understand computers yet. It's the 80s. And then he would start to do deep dives into what he can invent in that system. The tones that he can invent, like the settings that he can manipulate that he never would have been able to manipulate in an analog device. And he would have found some sound that wouldn't have existed in a traditional rig, and he would have run with it. He would have run with the devil with it.
Oh my gosh.
He would have put Sammy Hagar's voice through the damn thing.
Not David Lee Roth's?
No.
All right, man. You ready to move on?
What do you think? Whose voice are you going to put through filtering?
I don't know. Sammy era Van Halen is running with the devil. Is that Sammy?
I don't remember
era.
I'm not. Sammy Hagar is like keyboard era Van Halen.
I'm not a Van Halen connoisseur.
Either am I.
So basically, I know the singles from the first album.
When I think of David Lee Roth's voice, I'm thinking just kind of like raw rock.
Yeah.
Like this is rock. When I think of Sammy Hagar, it's starting to get more into pop influences and special effects and stuff like that.
No, legitimately, somebody could be like, hey, listen to this, and it would be Van Hagar, and
you have no idea.
I wouldn't know. And then who else sang for them?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Is that it?
Anyone who trashes on Sammy Hagar is not even going to mention everyone after that.
I don't know. I'm not a... Sorry.
Sorry.
I think we established this back in the Van Halen episode. So
we had a Van Halen episode?
When we did that one where we reviewed their album.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Back when we used to listen to music.
Yeah, we haven't done album reviews in a while.
It's been a busy summer.
It has. Like, I've been slammed, dude.
Yeah.
I'm so busy. Did we accomplish anything with this topic?
No. So let's move on. This guitar was sent by Greg Straub. Actually, this was sent to me because this was posted on the Reverb Instagram. And our friend of the show, Robert Smith, not from The Cure, sent this to me.
It's fun.
This is a vintage 1990s Micro Machines Superfan City toy that has been transformed into a guitar.
Were you culturally aware when Micro Machines were a thing?
Sorry. The body is made of pyro construction. It features 20 scale. It's been fitted with a top loading cartridge operation, wired with advanced and high operator. The pickup packs and punch. It volume controls single top of this Micro Machines toy car. The key feature of this build is to make a functional guitar while retaining the original purpose of Superman City can be all miniature city race to your car around. Before being reassembled, to shroud some licks. It's been set up with an 11 gauge string at the sail length of the string. I can't read that fast.
See, now
you can see here the Micro Machines guitar in action for yourself. There's a YouTube demo video.
Hold on, Steve.
Yeah.
Note to editing, Ryan. What Steve's about to do, just speed it up. Okay, now, Steve, read it regular speed.
This is a vintage 1990s Micro Machines Super City van toy that has been transformed into a guitar. The body is made of a pine wood construct and features a 20-inch scale length guitar neck. It has been fitted with a top-loading hardtail bridge. It is wired with advanced and high output humbucker. A pickup that packs a punch. It has a single volume control that is topped with a Micro Machines toy car. The key feature of this build was to make it a functional guitar while still retaining its original purpose. The Super Van City can still be opened up and used as a miniature city to race your car around before being reassembled to shred out some licks. It has been set up and strung with 11 gauge strings as the scale length of this guitar is particularly short. The thicker gauge strings help with the action and intonation whilst not being uncomfortable. You can see here the Micro Machines guitar in action for yourself in the YouTube demo video.
Brought to you by Blammo.
Was it?
I don't know. It's something like that.
I remember these.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like I didn't have one, but I feel like I knew some people who did.
For the young people in the audience.
Oh, there's actually one with.
Yeah, that's the volume knob.
Oh, no way.
Micro Machines was a collection of toys where the whole thing was like, it was cars, like Hot Wheels, only they made them even smaller. They were tiny, like the size of like a quarter, like the width of a quarter.
Yeah.
And then they would have these whole play sets that were really, really small. So you could like roll your little cars around these little miniature play sets. It was kind of like the boy version of Polly Pocket.
Yeah. I think it was before Polly Pocket.
Maybe Polly Pocket was the girl version of Micro Machines.
I think it was.
But the commercials were just bonkers. Like the guy would just read this script so fast, which was the joke that we did with the speeding everything up. But anyways,
Because I can't read that fast.
this build is kind of bonkers. I actually watched the video of the guy building it, and then he played this thing. Like he played it.
Oh yeah.
Like I was having imposter syndrome watching him play this guitar. And it sounds, you can strap a neck and a pickup to anything and it's going to sound like an electric guitar. That's just the reality of it. So this sounded like an electric guitar. There's nothing wrong with the sound of it, but I have a feeling holding it and playing it is super weird and awkward.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell the neck is kind of some no-name parts neck that he got somewhere and bolted it on. Look at how little that fret wire is. It's that like kind of like bronzish gold, super tiny fret wire.
Import neck.
This came off as something weird. I'm sure it plays totally fine though. It's just a funny concept. How much does he want for this thing?
$370, I want to
That's
say.
not terrible. If you're in a van themed band,
$362, but because it's in the UK, it's $110 shipping for us.
Oh, for us. If you're in the UK, then go grab your Micro Machines van guitar.
I didn't look to see if he has anything else because this has a label on it that says weird and wired, which makes me think he does these kinds of conversions to other things.
He had a pretty decent like shop setup. I was watching his whole video and it seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was pretty confident in it. What, like, you're going to start a band. This is the guitar. What toy is the bass going to be built out of, and what are the drums going to be built out of?
The bass, the drum. Okay, the drums is easier. The drums are going to be designed after the Technodrome.
That's fun.
That's easy.
Yeah. That's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles giant like enemy base, right?
Yeah.
It's like a giant.
It's a giant like Death Star.
It's a Death Star.
It's the tank version of a Death Star.
It's a Death Star on tank tracks.
Yeah. The bass.
Wasn't there like a giant G.I. Joe base?
There's a giant G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
Take that and turn it into a stand-up base.
Which is the flag. I think it was called the Flag. It's like the USS Flag or
those
something.
were like 8 feet long or something like that. They were huge.
Yeah. Paul Pennington, I think, flipped one.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that dude can flip anything. I think he found one at like an antique shop or a pawn shop or a thrift shop or something and flipped it for a lot of money.
For a lot of money.
If you have most of the parts or all of the parts, they're worth a good chunk.
Can you imagine being a grown adult dropping
playing with Micro
a
Machines?
ton of money on a G.I. Joe play set, and then you sit there as a grown adult and play G.I. Joes with it? Man, I wish I had that amount of like peace in my life.
Dude,
it sounds very peaceful. Like it's easy. It would feel easy to make fun of it, but part of me is like, man, that person has got to be like so relaxed.
I had this exact conversation with some coworkers. So one of my coworkers
imagine just sitting and playing with toys.
One of my coworkers went home for his 30th birthday, and which is he lives back east. And when he got there, like all of his hometown friends planned a big dirty 30 for him. That was I guess I don't know if this was a thing they did. I don't really know the backstory of it. But basically, it was a pirate theme. So I guess one of them dragged him out to go play golf all day. He's like, I don't even play golf. I talked to him about it. And when he got back, they all of his friends were already there and like rushed him with like a pirate costume, and they were all wearing pirate costumes, and they had like an adult themed pirate LARPing sort of a thing going on.
That's fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. But the thing is the whole time I just looked at him like, there's something inside of me that doesn't allow me to do something like that. Like,
but what if you didn't have that wall that's built into you?
My life would probably be a lot better.
That keeps you from having childlike joy.
I'd probably be over here recording a lot more bass demos.
Yeah. I mean, it's playing guitar is kind of like that, and messing around with pedals and stuff is kind of like that. But it's like, just like the raw element of playing like a child with a play set, even though you'd probably dropped $3,000 or something stupid, and you're playing with the full-sized G.I. Joe like aircraft carrier in your basement or something like that. Like, that's what like train guys must feel like, the model train guys.
Yeah.
Just like this like childlike joy of just playing.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have that. And as I was like going through this and being like, oh man, dude, you're way too old for this, I could hear that part of me going like, no, like he's really enjoying himself, and all these people are really enjoying themselves, and like you just sound like a crotchety ass old man.
It does sound kind of fun to have a kid style birthday for adults.
I mean, like
get the hats, like pick a theme. Like,
there was definitely the for adults part is definitely on, because the video that he posted was somebody going, release the Kraken, and then all of his friends rushed out with pool noodles and were like beating him with these pool noodles.
But kids could do that too.
And then they're like, in order to defeat the Kraken, you must drink the Kraken.
There we go.
And it was like a red Solo cup filled with Kraken rum, and it was like, you must drink the Kraken to defeat the... And I'm like, yeah, I'd be down for that too. But the problem is, that's what it would probably take for me to like be like, oh yeah, this is fun.
Now you can let loose.
I just don't, I don't know. There's something about that like...
You know what I miss?
I need like context appropriate fun. So dressing up as a pirate in a pirate themed band...
That makes sense.
I feel like I could do that. Dressing up like a pirate for a party in my parents' backyard or whatever, like I don't think I could do that.
I was thinking about this the other day. You know what I really miss?
What do you
it's
really
something
miss?
that like never happens anymore as an adult. Mm-hmm. Like even into our 20s, like young adulthood, mm-hmm. there would be like fun get-togethers where we like a bunch of friends get together. We have like a dinner, or we do takeout or whatever, and then it was like Blockbuster times. Like everyone sits around and watches movies together. Like that Blockbuster style experience. Like we've lost that.
Some of that is
like streaming culture.
I think some of
it is internet
is
culture, and I think us just being older and having kids. Yeah, it's not doable.
The kids definitely wreck that pretty hard.
And it's like watching movies and TV shows is what you do when you're alone now. Mm-hmm. There's no social aspect of it anymore. Mm-hmm. But I miss that. I like sincerely miss that. I miss like having a shared experience watching some crappy movie. Oh, what it was is I was watching Deep Blue Sea with my son, and I was flashing back to the first time I saw it. I was having like a Blockbuster party with people.
That movie seems not child appropriate.
Henry really enjoys
Samuel L. Jackson getting eaten by a great white shark.
He enjoys like scary stuff, like he's loved like Nightmare Before Christmas since he was like 3 or something like that. Like he's loved anything kind of scary, a little bit Halloween themed and stuff like that. So I've been slowly incorporating like PG-13 level movies that I've seen that I know he'll be able to handle. Okay, like the gore in it is really simple. It's like arms get bit off by sharks and stuff. I think there might have been like 2 swears in the whole thing. It was not bad. He can handle it just fine as a 7-year-old. But yeah, I was missing that whole experience.
Yeah. So something I realized the other day is
And I do, I get to have that experience with my son now, but I miss having it with friends. You know?
I think because so many shows that I'm watching, I'm either not actually as invested in them as I think I am. So like I'm rewatching or I'm not rewatching, I'm watching for the first time Star Trek Enterprise, but I found with a lot of shows there's so much dialogue explaining what's going on that I kind of don't need to watch it. And then either that or a lot of shows like I've seen already. And so I already know what's happening. And so I know which parts to watch and which parts are just going to be boring. And I realized the other day that like, it's really hard for me to watch TV without playing a game on my phone or cruising Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, it feels like we're almost never fully engaged.
Yeah,
the thing
and
we're
so I was trying
enjoying now.
I was trying to. In fact, this was during the Olympics. I was trying to like if they were actually showing an event, which I was not thrilled with NBC's coverage, but when they were actually showing an event, so like I think I did this during the women's. I was really interested. The one event I think I wanted to see the most in this Olympics was the women's 3x3 3x3 basketball, because it was like a completely like different basketball format from anything that I'd seen. It was even completely different from like street ball, like pickup basketball, because of the way it was formatted. I really wanted to watch it. So I made a very conscious effort to be like, I will only hold my phone during the commercials, and otherwise I put it to the side. And then when there's a commercial, I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And then commercial's over. I try to put it down to the side. Be like,
yeah.
But then again, yeah, it's harder when I'm just like it's midnight and I'm just trying to wind down. So I'm gonna put on TNG, and I've watched through TNG like 4 times,
The Next
5
Generation
times or whatever.
Let's talk on track. I'm really excited for Lower Decks to come out.
You know.
I mean, by the time this episode's out, Lower Decks has started to come out again.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to watch the new season of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Sponsor?
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Chase Plus Audio.
Makers of that pedal.
I talked about the Dark World last week. I didn't grab a new pedal, so
okay.
I'm going to talk about it again. I love the Dark World. It's a fantastic reverb. It's actually 2 reverbs. It's actually 6 reverbs. 3 reverbs on each side of the pedal. You've got traditional reverbs on one side. You've got experimental and like modulated reverbs on the other. I like to mix the plate and the shim reverb, and I have the shim reverb bounce back and forth across the octave knob. So it kind of drifts in between a high octave and a low octave shimmer, and it just gives it a bit of movement. And it makes it change throughout the song that I'm playing, so that it doesn't feel like this kind of like stagnant, always stuck on the same octave kind of shim reverb. And that's usually what kind of exhausts me with shim reverbs, is that stuck in one sound sort of thing. And with the Dark World, you can dial in a sound that doesn't sound stuck in the same octave with your shim reverb. So I'm a big fan of that. Chase Plus Audio makes pedals more creative than you are and better looking, and they've been sponsoring this podcast for a really long time. So if you ever want to treat yourself, go buy a Chase Plus pedal. Tell them that we sent you. There you go.
What's new, man?
Oh man, what is new? It is hot.
It is hot.
I'm like exhausted by the heat. You know, like that exhaustion you get where like your body's tired just from sweating. Mm-hmm. Like my skin hurts from sweating. I don't have central AC in my house.
Right.
And I definitely don't have it in the garage. And I was filming in here all day today. And I was almost in tears at the end of the day. Like I was so exhausted and I was so frustrated and I felt like awful.
Right.
And like my hands hurt from like trying to play guitar. And honestly, like I'm dreading going and scrubbing through the footage because I honestly don't believe any of it was any good. I might have to scrap the whole day.
Yeesh.
Like that's how I've been feeling. Like the heat really just sucks it out of me.
Yeah. I will get home after we record. It will be pretty late. Like after 10 o'clock. So it will have started to cool down. It'll be probably like where I live, probably damn near like 100% humidity when I get home. God. But it will be cool. It'll be like at least down in like the upper 60s by that point.
Okay.
But until my kids fall asleep, which one of my kids has been falling asleep very late, we can't really keep any of the windows open. She insists that they be closed. She will run over to them and close them. So we don't go start the process of like cooling down our house until like midnight.
Oh my gosh.
So I will drive home. I might even drive home with the windows down and not even and like have the AC on low,
Yeah.
but have the windows down and just enjoy the fresh air.
But you get to work in an air
I do get to work in air
yeah.
conditioning, but then I'll get home and it'll be very nice and cool. And I'll be like, oh, and then I'll go inside where it will feel exactly like this garage
Right.
feels right now.
I'm honestly thinking about like upcharging for demos that are filmed
In the summer,
like August through September or whatever. Because it's like most of the year our weather is perfect here.
yeah,
Like we cannot complain about San Diego weather the vast majority of the time, but we get like 2 months of heat where every year it's just like, it's hard to record. It's hard to think. It's hard to edit. And honestly, like on YouTube, that's a downtime anyways, where
Right.
like you're not making a lot of money because ad rates are down and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling financially free next year, I might take a lot of time off in the summer.
it's this summer. I think it's particularly weird because I feel like compared to previous summers, it's actually not hotter.
But somehow it's more miserable.
I think it's a lot more humid.
It is
like
pretty
I think it's a
humid.
good like 10 to 15% more humid than San Diego normally is.
Yeah. We get that heat in the fall where it's like, if you're outside and the sun is hitting you, it's like miserable, but then you can go inside and it's cool in the shade.
Yeah.
And this is that heat where it's just like pervasive.
You can't escape it.
escape
And
it.
everyone in the South and in
I know,
Texas
we
and on
know.
all the other places are like, her.
Listen, wherever you are, whatever the temperature is, if you're not used to it and you're miserable, it's fine. Don't let other people tell you that it's not fine. Like people in New Mexico or Arizona think it's so hot or whatever. What about the people on Venus? Huh? What about those people?
What about those people?
Their atmosphere is made out of acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't hear them chiming in every time that someone in New Mexico complains about the heat. Come on,
All right, man. So on this topic,
Venus.
if you could choose between one of these two things, which one would you choose?
Okay,
Either it rains for the next 3 days and it rains 3 inches a day
Wow.
for the next 3 days, or it rains for the next 2 weeks, but it only rains like half an inch per day.
What's the temperature in each scenario?
It's the same.
As right now,
It would be cooler. It would be like a nice,
like 70s.
like low 70s, like upper 60s.
I think for where we live, I think the 2 weeks with like, what'd you say, like a third an inch or something?
Oh,
like
the
that?
2 weeks would definitely be better from an environmental perspective.
Yeah, I think a 3 inches a day for 3 days that would be mudslide situation. here.
If we got 9 inches of rain in 3 days, half the city of San Diego would collapse.
It would be an emergency. We don't have the infrastructure
no.
to deal with that.
We don't have the infrastructure, and our sewage systems aren't built
No.
to handle that. Like our drainage systems aren't built to handle
And
that
like
much
that's
water
totally
at once.
normal rainfall for other places, but it's not for here.
No.
This is the desert.
Because it's so dry. Our drainage systems collect a lot of dirt and leaves and whatever the rest of the year,
Right.
and so
They get clogged
We
if
will
there's
get,
big rains.
if we get like an inch of rain in 24 hours, like sections of the city go underwater. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
The mall,
And we're just not built
the
for it.
malls flood.
Right.
Well, that's also because
But
they built a mall in a riverbed. So.
You know what? I tell people this like
What
all
is
the time.
this? A geoclimate podcast?
Like people who live in San Diego, they go places that have weather for vacation.
Yeah.
So if we got like a couple weeks of light misty rain midsummer, like most San Diegans would be like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah.
This is great.
Actually, like a couple nights ago, it rained at like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, I woke up for that.
And I was like, oh man.
Do I need to get out of bed and go run
Yeah.
around?
And the thing that sucked is by the time I got to my car the next day at like 8:30 in the morning, it was already so hot that it completely evaporated.
Oh, yeah. It was all
the
gone.
water off. And apparently it didn't rain as much as I thought it did because it didn't rain hard enough to clean my car. All it did was like cake my entire car in dirt.
Lauren said, my wife said the same thing. She said, like, man, it made my car so dirty. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's good for the plants. That's rain that has a lot of stuff in it. Like, there's a lot of dust in that rain, and that's how you get good nutrients in the soil. But man, yeah, it makes your car so dirty.
My car was like, and thankfully the day before I had just refilled my windshield wiper fluid. Otherwise, I'd just been stuck.
My car's so dirty, I didn't even notice the difference.
I couldn't see through my windshield when I got in my car.
All right, do we want to tackle this ad? We've been talking about nothing this whole episode because we're both so fried from the heat and just being tired.
I guess
adults.
this is a fake Ernie ball. This was sent by Damian Michael.
I don't even know.
How do we know it's fake?
Well, it kind of looks fake to me in a few different ways. Like the way, like look at that bridge and look at. There's something about the lines of that center portion.
Ernie Ball Music Man Majesty, 24
like, look
frets.
at the saddles on this bridge. Like
16. I don't know what Ernie Balls look like, man. This could be real.
Ernie Balls have nice hardware. This doesn't look like nice hardware. Look at that little switch.
Maybe Ernie Ball's build quality has gone way down.
I want to look up the thing it's supposed to be.
It's a EBMM Majesty. Guitar is in very good shape since it just arrived 2 weeks ago. Custom ordered from China. Since the real EBM Majesty costs more than $3,000 new, you can have a great playing guitar for a fraction of the cost of a real guitar.
Come on.
It says of the real guitar, but real guitars.
Even just looking at the thumbnails of the real thing, like I can tell that they're so much better than this.
Pickups sound amazing. IMHO. You don't need to upgrade it. You don't, Ryan. This is a great guitar for the money.
Okay, look at the bridge on the real thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's pretty different, I guess.
You can't even pretend that this is even a close copy. Look at the shape of the horns. Like the bottom horn shape is totally different. That like center part looks so wonky. Like it looks weird on the real Ernie Ball, but it looks extra weird on that. What the hell happened to my Google here? Got stuck in a weird.
You know what though?
Preview.
Check this out. That's the Sterling version has like the cheaper bridge on it.
But it still looks better than this.
It does look better.
A lot better.
It looks all right.
Look at how crappy this print looks on the back of the headstock. Like there's something about that looks awful. It's got these cheap looking tuners on there too.
The tuners is what actually gave it away the most.
That one's crooked against the other one. Like, not to mention that this is illegal. Like you could actually get yourself in trouble selling this.
We're reporting you to the FBI.
Imagine getting busted and facing criminal charges over this crappy looking Chinese knockoff of a guitar that already looks weird to begin with. Oh, I just had to have one. Why not just buy the Sterling? How much is the Sterling option?
$800.
Yeah, just
no, actually the new Sterling is $1,400. That's wild, actually.
I'm seeing one for $949.
Oh, maybe that's a different version of it.
All right, let me Sterling.
This is a compelling part of the show where
I'm seeing $949.
Okay, yeah.
I'm seeing. I mean, this guy's selling it used. I'm seeing one used for $600, $845. Yeah, more. The newer ones are more expensive, but this guy's selling this used. You can compare to used prices. Just save your money and buy a Sterling. Like freaking $400 for this thing that looks like crap.
You know what's interesting is one of the biggest differences between this and even the Sterling version of this is the Majesty center block is usually has this like weird carbon fiber texture thing going on.
Right. It's not just painted. Like this one is like just painted black and it looks like you can almost like this is a low quality JPEG, but you can almost see like the masking tape edges.
No, for sure.
And just the way that these like little holes are cut out for the knobs and the switches and stuff, like it looks so janky.
Yeah, that's a feature of PRS does that too.
Right.
But they're
not talking
always
about-
like the bevel is always like the exact size of the knob. There's if you're
Right.
not looking at it up close, you can't tell.
The way that the knobs and the switches sit in it is really weird, but also just the cut looks really rough. Like
Yeah.
look at the cut around the little mini switch up there, which is hilarious in itself. That mini switch is hilarious to look at.
I don't even see the mini switch on any of the other.
Well, he custom ordered
ones.
this thing apparently, and it must be really super good because he's selling it right away. So
Yeah.
this custom order turned
That's how
out
you know it's the best.
really great for him. Yeah. Oh wait, here's one with a little switch on the top. I can't tell what's
Oh.
going on up there, but it can tell
It's like a little nub and toggle.
right, but it's not like this at all.
No.
What is my Google doing to me right now?
This is rough.
Yeah, never would I pay $400 for this. Never ever. I'd be much sooner to pay $400 for that that Univox bass from the last episode. And it has a battery clip in the back, so maybe that little switch is some sort of active preamp thing or something.
Sure.
If
but
it even does anything. What is going on with the fret dots?
I
Are they
think
supposed to be like a triangle?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
It's like a weird shape. Like this, the little cover on the back of that top horn for that little
Right.
switch is so huge, and it looks like it's sticking out. This thing it makes me sad.
Yeah, they're like little shields on the real thing. They're like little shield shaped.
Huh. So they tried to, they tried. Whoever he had make this thing, they tried to cover various aesthetic.
And there is like it's more of a hex or a trapezoidal,
Right.
or like a diamond.
But that looks
shape.
like a billion times better
Oh yeah,
than this
because it's contoured properly.
sewer plate cover that's on the back of the horn. It looks like it's either like bent or wrapped around. It looks like it might even just be a piece of rubber,
It does
like
look
screwed
pretty
down to
rough.
flex over that body carve. Oh my gosh, guys, don't do it. Don't order like cheap knockoffs of the guitar that you want from China. Like there's guitars from China that are great,
It's just not this one.
but it's almost never the ones that are like you trying to cheat the system. Like, oh, I'm going to have this guy build me, this Ernie ball instead of paying full price. You're going to get something weird.
So something kind of interesting too, and I'm just flipping through photos, so maybe I just haven't gotten to an old enough one or
Who
something.
are you trying to fool? You're not fooling.
Okay. There's one I was gonna say this. So this one has the made in San Luis Obispo, California, that this one has, but a lot of the newer ones have have a picture of the bear from the California flag and say California Heritage and then the information. So it's like this particular made in San Luis Obispo thing is maybe it's an older one, or maybe I was just
Right.
seeing special models. I don't know.
Here's my question with this.
What's your question, Ryan?
Who are you fooling? Because you're not fooling you. You get this guitar, you're never going to think a single day in your life, oh man, yeah, this is the same.
Yeah.
This is the same as like, oh, I'm glad I got this instead of getting the real thing or even getting the Sterling or just getting a different guitar. And anyone in your audience that actually cares about that model guitar and would be able to identify it is going to be able to tell from across the room that this isn't it.
When he says it's custom ordered, what exactly?
He probably went through Alibaba or something like that.
So it's like I'm wondering what parts he customed on it. I guess where I'm going with this is like, is this too unique of a guitar for them to have copied properly? Because if you order a knockoff Gibson Les Paul,
Right.
the things that people will pick up on will be like, oh,
Small details.
The
truss rod cover is not right.
The truss rod cover has 3 screws instead of 2, which that one's
Right.
or the Tunematic has the Epiphone style, which is the import style threadings.
Right. Or like the tuners
versus
are
a thumb screw
in the wrong place ever so slightly.
Yeah, the Gibson logo should not be covering
right.
the D-string tuner.
Oh, there's an extra line in the binding, you know, little things like this, where this is like you can spot it from across the room, like something is wrong. Like even just the shape of that center block design thing is weird to look at.
Well, I almost wonder, like that makes me think like but then they have the inlays, they try to do the inlays, and that seems very detail oriented, right?
Right.
Because the things that are on the neck, I look at that and I go, someone had one of these and tried to make a copy of it. But the things that are going on with the body look like somebody took a picture of the guitar or just sent a link and said, hey, this is the guitar I want you to make for me.
Oh, totally.
Have at it.
No, it's got that serviceman sort of vibe where it's like, someone in Vietnam got a catalog of American guitars and then they tried to build something based off the pictures.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you're not going to fool anyone. You're not going to fool yourself. Like, don't do this, guys. Like, don't put these things into, you know, the market, into the used market by buying them new. You know, once they exist, like do whatever, you know, you want with them, I guess, but like, don't order this stuff. Don't order these custom guitars off of Alibaba. Like, come on, knock it off. Just ridiculous. All right. Let's not even do the second topic.
You want to do the second sponsor?
Let's do the second sponsor. I've still got the Shake here. Same deal as the Chase Bliss pedal. I didn't feel like swapping anything out. I'm lazy today. It's hot. Get off my back. But the shaker is still really cool. It looks like a pedal, but it's a shaker. There's a little wooden box inside full of all the extra leg clippings from resistors and diodes and stuff like that bigger pedals uses to build their pedals. Finally,
this isn't working.
Finally, a pedal where you shake it and there's something loose inside and it means that it's working perfectly. There's nothing broken in there. You plug in right here and there's a transducer or a piezo or something like that in there that picks up that vibration or any vibration really and allows this to be a plug-in noisemaker.
Yeah,
this jack
very cool.
Technically doesn't do anything, but you can sing into it like a microphone, which is a bunch of fun. You can tap it, you can shake it, you can knock it around.
Slap it. Twist it.
There's a little bit, the print is raised just a little bit on it so that you can like scrape your fingernail on it and make like washboard sounds and stuff like that. It's a really fun, like silly product that if you use like percussion in your recordings or your band or something like that, it's actually kind of fun. I had a really great time messing around with it the other day when I did a recording with it. And from what I understand, they're going to have more in the future. So follow Big Ear on social media, get on their email list so that you can make sure that you can grab one of these when they have a fresh run of them. So huge thanks to Big Ear for once again sponsoring this content that I think you love.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a hate listener. I don't know.
Go to their site and get on the mailing list. Follow them on Instagram. A lot of times their product, when they do release runs, they are announced on Instagram first.
Yep.
So follow them there. You want to do some housekeeping?
Yeah.
You don't want to do this other topic? You don't want to talk about Metallica?
I don't.
All right.
Sorry, Metallica.
Housekeeping is a part of the show where we do some housekeeping.
We're going to sweep up.
This is the second episode of our recording session, so nobody new on the Patreon. Nobody joined up in the last hour. Go figure. It's a very small window.
We always have our fingers crossed.
But if you want to support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/60cyclehumcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can put some money into this show.
Well, you know, we use that money to pay for the cost of production, to pay for travel costs, to pay for like software rentals that we have to do and stuff that. To
pay for the hosting.
That's
not a small expense either.
We buy food every podcast recording night so that no one in my household has to cook dinner that night, which takes a lot a pressure off.
I need to send you a bill for $47.
We always get Mexican food, and it's actually on the weeks that we don't podcast, right about Wednesday or Thursday, we start craving Mexican food because we're doing it the same night every other week. But yeah, it covers so many costs that you wouldn't even like assume were associated with running a show like this, but they just become part of the cost of doing a podcast week in and week out, and some of the other content that we do on the YouTube channel. So huge thanks to everyone who directly supports this content. Like, this isn't money that's just lining our pockets. This is money that directly supports this content, and we're hugely thankful for it. We're really close to being in the black right now. The budget goes up and down. Sometimes we're in the red, sometimes we're in the black. Last time I checked, we were about $100 in the red. But I'm pretty excited to be in the black when we get our next payment from Patreon.
Nice.
Yeah. We're not going to be in debt anymore to my bank account.
All right.
But usually we're like doing really good. Like, there were some big costs in the past year that knocked us down a little bit, but we've been floating around like being close to in the black for a while. So I've been pretty amazed by that, honestly. So thanks, everyone. This last ad is
sent by Michael Morse. It's a 1948 Martin 018. It needs some repairs.
I don't know. I think that's just a relic, right? It might actually be worth more. That might be like a factory relic.
This person is asking $950. It's a $100 markdown from the previous price. This guitar.
How does something even get that damaged?
I don't know.
Like, you'd think that one part of it would get damaged and be like, oh shoot, put it away. Like, how? Like, for this to be this damaged, like something has to happen to it over and over and over again. Like, this is an intentional smash, right?
I feel like it'd have to be. Yeah, I mean, it's in. This looks like we were talking about cartoons last episode, and I saw this and I realized what it reminded me of is. Do you remember El Kabong?
No.
Oh,
El Kabong.
El Kabong. It was a Hanna-Barbera thing. I think it was part of. It was like a horse. El Kabong. It was part of the Quick Draw McGraw.
Okay, deal. I remember that horse. I don't know who El Kabong is.
It was like one of the it's like sub characters on that. It was like I don't know. I don't remember the.
Okay, I never saw that.
It's like a Zorro spoof.
Did that horse have his own show?
I think so.
I never saw that horse show, but I would see various Hanna-Barbera cartoons that would incorporate that horse.
Yeah, Quick Draw McGraw is the fictional anthropomorphic horse and protagonist and title character of the Quick Draw McGraw show.
So was this other character would smash guitars?
Yeah, so I guess it was him, but he's like dressed up as like it's a Zorro spoof.
Oh, okay.
And he would smash a guitar. He would like
good story, Steve.
That was like his weapon.
Okay, weapon of choice, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways, this thing looks completely wrecked. It looks like it's been wrecked for a long time, and they want $1,000 for it. It's down from $1,050 down to $950. Martin fans are crazy. It's in 1948, and I have a feeling someone's going to grab this and feel like they got a deal.
Yeah.
Like, someone's going to buy this, and then they're going to spend $2,000 to have it refurbished.
That's the rough part, right? Is unless you can do it yourself, you're going to be paying a lot of money.
And how many
somebody
at the end of it, after you have this refurbished, because someone probably will. How much of the guitar is actually original Martin after that?
Oh no! So we've talked about the idea, the musical ship of Theseus, right?
Right. I mean, most of the top soundboard is intact, so theoretically, you are getting most of that original tone out of it. Most of the damage is on the sidewalls.
You're getting it, but like you're getting the top. Yeah, you're right. You're getting the soundboard. But how much freaking glue are you going to be?
Right.
This is a resin guitar.
Well, you don't understand, Steve. They're going to use vintage glue.
They're going to use tone glue.
They're going to use horse glue or whatever.
They're going to melt. How many horses have to be sacrificed to save this guitar?
Well, I think a Martin fan would count that as a worthy sacrifice.
The top.
They'll bring the horse in.
I mean, look, this is a weird idea.
So I wonder if the neck is still good.
This is a Martin 018.
I mean, this thing looks dusty and dry. Like, this whole thing is going to need to, like, be humidified for like a full year. I don't know anything about humidifying guitars, but I just look at this thing and like it's got to have so many problems other than just being broken apart.
I hate to say this. I'm going to say it.
Say it.
This guitar. Oh, look. Is there a string? There's like a string. What the hell? This guitar should just be donated to like
a
museum of making music and be like, hey, I have this old guitar. If you're interested in doing, and like I would like pitch it like this, like, hey, I have this old guitar. I don't know if you guys have anything like this, but maybe you could use it, like take it all the way apart, like take away the rest of it, take the rest of it apart properly, and be like, this is what the inside of a vintage guitar looks like. This is what this is what, you know, like this. You know what this could be a really interesting this could be a really interesting what do they call it, exhibit. If you had like a 1948 Martin 018 deconstructed, a whatever the 2020 equivalent Martin is, so you have to partner with Martin and say, hey, we've got a 1948 that's beat up. We're going to take it apart. We want to do this thing. And then find some other brands of guitars and be like, this is what the 1948 Martin bracing looks like. Sure. This is what it looks like now. This is what other brands do for their bracing. And kind of get into the science of like, why these different companies have chosen this style. I think that'd make a really cool exhibit.
That would be fun. What I think would make a more interesting exhibit for someone like me is if this guitar had a story. If it had a story, it would completely turn this thing around. A story about why it's broken, like some...
Well, it's broken because someone smashed it, Ryan.
Like some folk singer in... you know, the late 50s was traveling around to beatnik clubs and got in a fight and drove away drunk and drove off a cliff and crashed his car and it exploded everywhere. And the guitar was found 60 years later or something like that, you know, in messed up condition, but perfectly preserved underneath a pile of rubble. Like it needs an exciting story. Like it needs to be found somewhere interesting, or it needs to have someone attached to it to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just a messed up guitar.
You know, Ryan, I think this guitar was owned by Elvis.
This is the guitar that Elvis used to beat off a horde of vampires.
This is a guitar that Elvis used to write Achy Breaky Heart.
And then he broke the guitar. His heart was so achy breaky that he broke the guitar.
Yeah. This is the guitar Elvis used when he did his Chris Gaines phase.
We all need to have a Chris Gaines phase in our lives, don't we? All right, get us out of here, man.
Yeah, this song was sent to us by Noah Speeder. He says, I just got done listening to Monday's podcast where you talked about pawn shops and Ryan selling off all his stuff if the channel got hacked. I just so happen to have a song I made a few years ago that combines both of those ideas. It's called Pawn Shop. Here's a link. Would love if you played this at the end of a future podcast. Oddly enough, I clicked the link and it hijacked our YouTube channel.
Shut up. That would be terrible.
No, it went to Bandcamp.
I had to delete like 15 emails this week from scammers.
Sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop. I sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop. And until that paycheck comes, I just can't stop. Well, I got 30 days to buy back my stuff. I got 30 days to buy back my stuff. But I'll be broke then too, so I guess I'm out of luck. I sold rings and jewels and heirlooms, and yes, I'm a fool without a broom, cause I sold that too with silver spoons, cause I don't need those if I don't got no food. And I sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop. Well, the boss man said that he'll pay me next week. How the hell am I supposed to eat? So I grabbed some things and I head down the street and I pawned some tools and some old gold teeth. Until that paycheck comes, I just can't stop. I sold TVs and CDs and golf clubs and golf tees, even trying to sell some dead batteries, old lamps and stamps and clocks and books, and even some old fishing wire and hooks. Till that paycheck comes, I just can't stop. Oh, I sold until that paycheck comes, I just can't stop. Alright. Game Boy and all my action figures, all the picture frames with the family pictures, old boots and knives in my uncle's glass eye, and my 10th grade copy of The Catcher in the Rye. Yes, sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop. Well, I sold my car that needed an inspection, I sold my nephew's comic book collection, I sold some old school Nike shoes, and I sold my guitar so I can't play no blues. I don't got no friends that'll call me a fool, cause I sold them all to the pawn shop too. Yes, I sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop. I sold all that I owned to the old pawn shop, and the paycheck never comes, so I just can't stop. Yeah, the paycheck never comes, so I just can't stop. Yeah, the paycheck never comes, so I just won't stop.
That's a fun song.
That was great. I like that it was on theme with a episode we did.
Yeah. Guys, write songs about our dumb podcast episodes. All right, bye everyone.
Stay grounded.